Perifery and Sports. This is a informal fireside chat. I think that's what we've decided on, Ollie. It was once upon a time described as a podcast, then it turned out it was going to be mostly video. So I've just gone with fireside chat as a general catch-all. I hope that's all right. My name's George Maddocks. I'm a solution architect here at Perifery, and this is Oliver Smith, who can introduce himself.
Hi everyone. Yeah, we went with fireside chat because we couldn't do it from a pub. I think that was the main reason. Too loud and all that. But yeah, I'm Ollie Smith. I'm the UK sales manager for Perifery.
So as we're talking about sports today, we thought we'd demonstrate our porting. We thought we'd demonstrate our sporting pedigree. Ollie has a much more established sporting history than me. You were a very decent rugby player, weren't you, Ollie?
A while back, I didn't do too badly, no. And then I discovered I was made of chocolate and got involved with alcohol, and that all went down the pan. And now I just lose golf balls. Is the bottom line.
So, but quite seriously, which team was it again, Ollie? You were semi-pro, I believe. You were for.
Yeah, I got my beer and petrol paid for.
Okay.
Just at Doncaster for their A team.
Ah, superb. So I am a solution architect now. I was a spirited amateur athlete rather than the semi-pro like Ollie. I was a rugby player as well. Actually, which position did you play, Ollie?
At the time, I was a hooker.
You were a hooker. Oh, superb. Yeah. Okay, so I was a nippy, speedy little winger, but I had some issues around my eyesight. As you can see, I wear glasses now. But at the time, I had a severe stigmatism, which meant that only on some occasions would I catch the ball. If I did catch it, I was remarkably good. But unfortunately, it was about a 50-50 shot on catching the balls. Given these issues with coordination and eyesight, I have now become a middle-aged, overweight powerlifter. It's a lot easier not when you don't have to catch things, in my experience. Anyway, we mention all of this because we're here to talk about sports today, and specifically rugby because the Six Nations is on. But also we're here to talk about sports because we've got a big push, Ollie and I, in the UK market on sports in and around our storage products here at Perifery. We're really keen to expand into this market. We've got a lot of tools and associated storage apps that make our storage really, really useful for sports organizations. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. We are going to be extremely informal today. We're aware that you've got lots of podcasts about business type stuff, and they might all be a little bit dry. So we're going to do this in a little bit more of an informal kind of hopefully slightly more interesting format. Specifically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Oliver clips from famous rugby matches, and then he is going to see if he knows the Perifery products well enough to tell me why the video clips are like our Perifery products.
That's smart, that, George. It's very smart.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a bit different, you see, a bit different. But before we do, we should probably have a little drink. What have you got, Ollie?
Oh, I've got a lovely fresh Guinness.
That's the remarkably well poured Guinness, considering it was done at home.
Yeah, well, that's the £25 nitro surge that you have to buy to go with it, mate. That's why it's really good.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we tell someone's in sales. The person in pre-sales has got a £4 can of Foster's, but it is the pint can, so I feel like that's pretty good. Right.
There you go.
In that case, quick sip of this.
Cheers.
Ollie, are you ready for your first clip?
I am.
Excellent. Okay. Let's just check we've got some volume. Oops. Yeah. Here you go.
Is very strong on the ball, calls the turnover. Is over. Trouble. Williams takes it away. The electrifying speed of Shane Williams steps inside. 1, 2, 3. Shut the game. He'll now grab one pass.
So there you are. You get the idea, Ollie. I have to say, obviously, I am a winger. So quite a lot of these clips are going to be prejudiced towards the wingers. And I do feel like there was a point in time where we were blessed with some fabulous wingers and few were as good as Shane Williams. This is the sort of try we all dreamed of scoring as wingers. But why, Oliver, is this like Perifery storage?
Well, he's not the biggest lad, and he is from Wales. But he did have a very, very large impact on the world stage. In my opinion, which hurts, by the way, being an Englishman, complimenting a Welsh rugby player. But that is just like Object Matrix, which is now known as Perifery.
Beautiful. Ollie, as ever, you have absolutely nailed it. In fairness, gave you a bit of an easy one there, but you're absolutely right. So just to explain this a little bit more for our audience, we are Perifery. We are a storage company that specialize in media and entertainment, but also in tooling around media and entertainment, apps, AI, tooling, and various things like that. However, before we were Perifery, we were Object Matrix, a storage company, which, as Ollie quite correctly says, grew out of a small Welsh company and went growing and growing and growing until it was acquired by Datacore. So just to tell you a little bit more about how this works, Datacore was founded in 1998. It grew through acquisition, acquiring Caringo's Swarm, again, another piece of storage which has high application for media and entertainment. It acquired OpenEBS as well, which allows Kubernetes type containment workflows. And then in a real push into media and entertainment, it acquired Object Matrix, which is object storage deployed on premise and optimized for media and entertainment. And then most recently, we've picked up as well Workflow Intelligence Nexus, who are a workflow automation company, which we have tasked with specializing in AI to increase and improve the workflows we have. So just again to reiterate, because it can't all be fun, we've got a little bit of work to do, I'm afraid, Ollie and I. We are an object storage company that deploys on premise, which allows optimized workflows for media and entertainment. We offer AI Plus, the AI tool we talked about before. Swarm, which is high performance storage for media and entertainment, Object Matrix storage, and Object Matrix Cloud, which is where we deploy our storage in our cloud so you can use it as a third party. Anything to add to that one, Ollie?
No, you've nailed it.
Well, fingers crossed I have. So in that case, shall we roll the next clip?
Roll VT.
Now this one, you're going to have to explain for some of our audiences who are maybe not so rugby qualified, Ollie. So I'm just going to start the clip and then I'm going to immediately pause it. Okay, so Ollie, if you look at that score in the top left-hand corner of the screen, what does that tell you? And what's the sort of thing you would expect to happen from here?
Well, I've got a feeling what happens, but I'd expect they go for a converted try to win the game, mate. That's what I'd expect.
Okay, so just to be clear for anyone who's not into rugby who's watching, what the scoreboard's telling Ollie is that there's 24 seconds of play left. Sorry, 34 seconds of play left. That Toulouse have got 18 points and the other team have got 12
Stade
points.
Francais have got 12.
Stade Francais, that's it. Thank you, Ollie. Yeah, that's going to say I had a mental aberration there and forgot. So Stade Francais have got 12. So the only way for Stade Francais to win the game is, as you say, Ollie, to score a try, isn't it? The one thing that they absolutely cannot do is kick the ball over the post. That's correct, isn't it, Ollie?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, so that's the one thing they can't do, right? Okay, great. Well, let's see what these highly paid professional rugby players choose to do, shall we?
For the Cook Islander, Palmer once again drops his shoulder into the tackle. Good support to protect the ball. Back for the drop down attempt. Not too sure what's behind that idea. It goes over. Pontapomi. Shake of the fist. Has he misjudged the scores? He's got it wrong.
I think he has. I think he has, unfortunately.
It gets better. We'll keep rolling it.
Down. He knows it, but what he's got to do and what Stade have got to do. Oh, there's the final whistle anyway. So a dramatic finish.
Stade Francais 15.
So what makes that clip for me, to be honest, it gets better and better the more you watch it. It's where he goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" But the other bit that's great is that you can almost imagine he turns around and he does the fist bump to the crowd, doesn't he? Like, look at me. Because in fairness, it's a very good drop goal.
It is. Under pressure, he's done well. Maybe he's got some visual occlusions, mate. He didn't see the scoreboard.
Yeah, precisely, mate. Yes, well, that's exactly the sort of problems I would have had, Ollie. Do you know what I mean? You know, the right idea, but the wrong eyesight to back it up. So yeah, so okay, so this is a bit more of a tough one. What do you think this tells us about our periphery object matrix story?
Well, I mean, he's dropped one there, hasn't he? He's dropped a boo-boo, let's just say. So I would probably pair that up with the fact that Periphery's object matrix platform has got plenty of things in there that back you up if anything does go wrong, mate. That's what I'd go with.
And you have indeed entirely nailed it. Okay, so obviously the basis of the periphery object matrix storage is the storage system. It's object matrix storage. It's object storage. It's deployed on premise, or we can deploy it in the cloud, and you can use it as you see fit as the customer. However, it is extremely, extremely safe against a number of metrics. Now, that's just not security from third parties. That's also security against the fact you can have multiple backups. You can very easily set backups across multiple locations. You can also have node backup as well. So anything copied into one node can be copied into the other node. And then finally, you have user level controls so that you only give the right users the right tools. And you're absolutely right. This is the clip of the coach giving it this and then giving it that. Let's be honest, it doesn't really matter how good your team is or your players. Sooner or later, everyone is going to leave their manager standing like that. I know I have. I'm sure you have once upon a time too, Ollie. We'll probably,
never.
Yeah. No, you're too much of a professional, of course. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Ollie. There've been times on Teams calls where I've ended up doing that with my camera off because of things you've said, and I'm sure it's the other way around. Either which way, we're all going to do it. The point is that Object Matrix offers protection against that. So the permissions layer, it's a little bit like having a sniper who could have shot that gentleman in the foot before he took the kick. Unfortunately, this analogy breaks down a little bit with our across node backups, but imagine it's like a time machine. So the coach could rewind time, run on the field and say, are you quite sure you want to do that? So well done, Ollie, 2 for 2. Absolutely right. Keeping our users safe. Now, this next one, if I remember right, it's a little bit of a blast from the past. Let's see. Superb. So there's 2 little clips here. Yeah, of course. So you might remember this from the days of VHS, yeah, which has ultimately been replaced by social media. But this is, of course, Brian Moore and a clip from Pitbull's Punch Up that I found on YouTube, which is where I got...
Just for context, this was a regular stocking filler or Christmas gift that I would receive. So yeah, it definitely brings back memories.
Super. Brian Moore, of course, one of the heroes of the amateur game, who almost moved into professional era as well. I have to say, his rugby was a lot better than his sartorial sense, as we'll see in a minute. Anyway, let's listen to what he has to say about Pitbull's punch-ups. Then we'll show a clip from it.
Mauls, rucks, sprint rucking, one-on-one punch-ups, formation punch-ups. We've got the lot here because we've trawled the whole of the world's archives to bring you what we think is the best of the slightly less legal side of rugby.
Okay, so we're going to immediately show another clip here. But I just want to remember, while you're showing this, just remember that Brian said, while you're seeing this, just remember that Brian said the best of the slightly less legal parts of rugby. And the emphasis on slightly. So we'll have a look at this. Now, the audio is a bit poor for this next bit, so I'll just tell you what they're saying. Okay, so you see this gentleman, he's on the floor. He's come out the back of a maul, right? So you just look at the gentleman, like you say, over there to the left. So what he's going to do is he's going to try and step over him but fail. He's just going to bang his foot right there in his gut. Look at that, step right on him. He's upset, so he's punched him. You'll notice he's punched him in a rather unfortunate place. But bearing in mind, this is the slightly less legal part of rugby back in the day. So upset that he's been punched in that place, he steps right on his head. So again, this is the slightly less legal side of rugby. At this point, I'm feeling quite sympathetic for the Argentinian bloke, given that his stomach stepped on and then he's taken a swipe at the only thing he can really see, right? But then unfortunately he stands up and identifies the wrong player as the one who stepped on his head and indeed knocks him spark out. And I think really, Ollie, before we get into what this tells us about periphery storage, what this kind of reminds us of is that I don't know when you were playing, but the game was very different, wasn't it?
Well, it was, but even I remember playing and having full 20-on-20 brawls on the pitch up in the up in the Yorkshire leagues, mate. So it's
well, maybe we met before we knew, mate, up in the Yorkshire leagues. Yes,
possibly.
Yeah. I have to say, I have watching those clips back. The commentators are very much like, I don't know what that Argentinian player was doing, etc. But if some guy
He was clearly on the wrong side. So, but by the rules of the law back then, he was. He may as well have been asking for it.
There's a difference between a bit of gentle rooking and the gentleman doing river dance on your chest, right? And then when you flail out in desperation and happen to hit them in an unfortunate place, where else is he meant to hit? He can't punch his knee. You get your head stamped on, and then you stand up and think, well, no one's going to mind if I throw a punch. I suppose, in fairness, that is where he goes wrong because he punches the wrong person. So there we go. Anyway, enough of the history of the game. Ollie, what do you think this tells you about Perifery storage?
It's a bit of a tedious one. I wouldn't necessarily say Perifery storage was punchy.
No, to be clear, it's a bit tenuous. Yes, you are right. It's a bit off. But can you think maybe why you might want Perifery storage in this scenario? I would probably
say back in the times of VHS and when DVD was at its peak, Brian Moore says it at the start. They went trawling through the archives, right, and that would be no mean feat. And I think probably the only way that I would link this would be the fact that if they happen to have that content stored on OM Cloud or Object Matrix, then they would easily be able to search and find it through the archives for fights, punches, stamps, the odd little tickle.
Ollie, you've nailed it again. That's exactly it. If to this day people were trying to generate Brian Moore's pitbull punch-ups, they would find it immaculately easier to do so using the Perifery Object Matrix apps. Specifically, the app that they would be interested in is the first one listed here, which is Vision. Vision essentially allows us to leverage the metadata in and around the video asset. So when we ingest the video asset, we will also ingest the video metadata. Then we will make that searchable as well as the video itself. It's one of the features that we pride ourselves on because we are storage that's specific to media and entertainment. What that means is that at the storage level, without recourse to a media asset manager, you can search for not just clips, you can also log against clips, you can also search the logs, you can search the technical video metadata of the asset. So, for example, I actually took the liberty of doing some logging against Pitbull's punch-up. We can see that right from the start, he has a truly horrible suit and a worrying goatee. But we can also see fights, elbows, more fighting. Obviously, the reality of it is that I could load up the entire season of Rugby plays as long as I had a metadata log of all the things I needed to find. Then I could find all of those clips in Vision and very quickly and easily share them with another person, maybe the editor, or maybe I could just pull them down and start editing them directly to the machine because we keep the video metadata next to the video, which means it is accessible. The other thing that we're moving into and are very much looking forward to having this year is our AI integration with AI+. And so, for example, if there was an AI out there that could look through rugby matches and identify instances of physical violence, then you could employ that AI and run it across your rugby footage. I'm not sure if that AI exists, and I'm certainly not going to go looking for it. But you take my point, I trust. The reality of it is that we are doing everything we can to make the workflows associated with sports logging, sports editing quicker and easier at a storage level. And I'm confident in saying that if Pitbull's punch-ups were to be made today, it would be made significantly quicker if they had access to Perifery's Vision software. It would, of course, also be cancelled because those things are not fun anymore. They are life-changing injuries that that merit a CTE assessment, right? But nonetheless, it was a different time, right?
Absolutely.
And I, for one,
fond memories, I'd say.
yeah, well, fond memories now, yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Rather less
I've
fond at the
I've
time.
got some scars to prove it as well. Let's just put it that way.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, haven't we all? My eye is mildly recovered from the time I got someone decided to put their elbow in it like that. But for a good 20 minutes, everywhere I looked, I saw an extra cloud. So, but you know, boys will be boys, I guess. Okay, so next clip.
Lead first, and England will run it from behind their own try line, and there's room as well. Tight bodies in the backfield. Away they come, England. McDonald through the middle, dreads it, and Donald cross to the right. The race is on for the line. England from behind their own try line. Don't tell me they're taking it. They can't. They won't. They will. Incredible. Mind-blowing. So, Ollie, you were a hooker, weren't you?
I was.
So you're never going to know the simple joy of being young and sprightly and fast and absolutely demolishing everything in your path with sheer pace and scoring a try with it. And so I have included this clip. I'm gonna save you trying to work out. There's got no association with Perifery storage whatsoever. It's just I'm English and I like rugby and I was a winger, and that's two wingers taking an entire field apart. And I just really wanted to show a good English try from wingers. So obviously, given the way England are playing at the moment, I had to go to the women's game because it's going to be very many months before we see a good English try, isn't it? From the men's, at least.
Very likely.
Anyway, the least said about that, the better. I'm sure they'll get their heads in the game. So we are actually at the final clip, and I think, given what I've just said about being an English rugby fan, and I know that you are also an English rugby fan, I think you can probably guess what clip this might be. Oh, that's just to confirm there's no point to the last clip. I just want to show a good English try. Look at me, so professional. I even put it on a slide. You know what this is?
Oh, yes.
He has indeed. Wilkinson right back in the pocket. And Dawson suddenly gets away. And that's done vitally well to bring him. Wilkinson is now perfectly in range. That has to be a penalty. He came up the side. Again, Wilkinson in the place. Johnny Wilkinson, he's got it!
Where were you, Ollie, when that happened?
I was on the sofa watching it at home with the parents.
You're a very lucky man.
Exactly where I was, mate. I remember exactly where I was.
I tragically remember where I was because I thought about calling in sick, and then I thought, no, I really shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? And then I was working at the time at the London Dungeon as a scary actor type, and the head of the scary actor types ran in just before I did a show and said England won, and I've never ever regretted. Well, I wish I'd called in sick, and I know that I shouldn't say that on a video podcast, fireside chat, whatever this is, in front of my employer. But I will say this: if we're up for the World Cup again, I'll be calling in sick this time because I tragically the people I was due to go with later told me that they were dancing in the fountains in Trafalgar Square. So one of the many regrets in my life that I didn't get to see that live.
Well, look, if you'd have called in sick for the last World Cup final we're in, mate, you'd have been disappointed. So we didn't even turn up. So
it's a 50-50 shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm actually going to help you a little bit with this one because this is a little bit esoteric. So there's something I find fascinating about this clip, and I've always enjoyed, is that obviously we always remember this one as Johnny Wilkinson's drop goal, right? But watch, that's the guy who makes it. Matt Dawson. They go from being halfway down the field to halfway up because he's got the common sense to grab the ball and just do it. Yeah. And that's always been my thing. I've always admired Dawson because he just did exactly what you would want a scrum half to do. At every given point, you know, he was on top of the brief and he was doing exactly what he was about. And actually, the reason I've included this clip is because when it comes to being a company, what you really need to be is Matt Dawson. Because your customer is Johnny Wilkinson, yeah? Your customer's going to drop the goal and get all the glory. You've just got to do the hard yards to support your customer. And that's what we are at Perifery, a little bunch of Matt Dawsons helping your company become a Johnny Wilkinson. So I guess, Ollie, I'm not gonna let you try and guess that one because I've just revealed it, and we shall see if the marketing team, when they review this, choose to change all of our marketing to be "we're a bunch of little Matt Dawsons" or not. I suspect they won't, but at least I gave it all my best. Yeah.
What we're all a bunch of people that are on Question of Sport. Is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the analogy breaks down a bit, Ollie. Yeah, I mean, I won't push it too far. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Arguably, of course, I have stolen this entire format from Question of Sport, so we probably shouldn't flag up to Matt Dawson that we're doing it. But anyway, and that is 32 minutes, and I think that's probably all we want to do for our little fireside chat, Ollie. Hopefully, people have walked away from this with the main messages being that we're excellent storage with excellent applications for sports and media and entertainment. And you and I clearly know our stuff. We do know about other sports, don't we, Ollie? We know about stuff other than rugby, don't we?
I did shot put a little bit as a kid.
Oh, you did a bit of shot put? Okay. Well, I did a bit of swimming.
I used to watch football.
Oh, okay. Super. Well, I follow Spanish football. So look.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Well, what more sports are there, to be honest? Anyway, thank you very much for your time today, Ollie. Really appreciate you letting you coming with me on this little whimsical journey. And thank you very much to everyone who's watched. Please do leave a like if you're on YouTube, and please do subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, hopefully we will see you very soon when we're demoing a product or something similar.
And please be kind in the comments.
Yeah. We're not turning on comments, are we? No.
not with our performance, mate. No.
Well, yeah. If we make a mistake and leave on the comments, please be kind. Good night.
Cheers, guys.